So I'm just going to make some leaves that I will add on the cake. So this is one kind, and it's been dried in that shape, so it's just not quite flat right now. And this, both of them are quite the same, and then they are like smaller bunches of grass that we could just add as fillers, because once we have everything coming together, there is a need for these smaller elements to come on the cake, and so the cake as a whole will look complete, because we have made the figurines, and then we have the the fence and all that, and once we put all of them together, then we kind of start feeling that there is some blank look. And these are like the elements that will go to the cake that I will be making. And when you're doing your theme, you have to see what are the elements that you may need, the tiny ones that you could just figure out that will be added onto the cake. So the cake as a whole, it kind of has a story to say, like that is the forest theme, and then obviously we just need to have some leafy elements to add on, and that will make your cake look complete. Okay, so that is some green fondant. I'm just going to roll it out. Just keep a little thicker as well. I'm just going to do some freehand cutting. Just get this base a bit flat. So I could make as many leaves of this kind. So I've just cut them out right now like that, and just set them aside. And using this one, let me just show. So obviously the center part is going to have a division like that. So I'll do that so I know what do I have on the sides and how much can I go ahead and then cut each of them. I'm just going to reduce. We don't want it like too long as well, and it's like pretty much narrow at the end. So let me just stop. So these are the excess I'm just removing. So similarly on the other side. So once you've just cut it out, and then I'm just going to use a Dresden tool and then press on each of these. So then each of them start to become like individual leaves. So once you've done, you can just change or before it could dry out, you could just keep it straight, or you could also just turn it away. It just depends. Before it dries out too much, we could just use it on the cake in the way we want. So we have one such a freehand leaf that comes in handy when you have to just use on the cake, and it doesn't look like anywhere right out of a cutter basically, and that it looks too plasticky that way. Rather, we could just use some of freehand cutting techniques like this, so we kind of create the leaves that doesn't look like which is already there up in the market. Okay, so that is one kind. So these I'm just going to do later and then bring it over onto the cake, that we will have to finish it at the end. Now the next thing is I'm just going to do one of that. I'm just going to make an outline first rather than just directly cutting out. Is nothing but a teardrop. So once you have the shape, and by freehand cutting, the advantage is you can just get the same pattern in different sizes that you want. Now if you have to be dependent on cutters, then obviously there'll just be one size or maybe 3 different sizes with the different sizes of the cutters we get. But obviously shape we can't change if you're going to use the cutter. I'm just going to make a slit here, before which let me just run the middle vein, the center vein. You can also make the veins here. I'm just going to make a slit here. And here I'm just going to cut it out and then make it a bit rounded, and here again rounded. And if it is like too stretchy, like how it is right now with what I am doing, you need to allow this at this stage to get set or dried up a bit before moving on to the next step. So once you have these cuts made, and then one last thing we could just do is to create a hole. So I'm just using a nozzle of size 2. I'm just going to drop it here and just make a hole and remove that out. So just allow it to rest until it dries up for some more time. Just try and release it from the mat, and then just fix the sides where you see the cuts have just created some jagged edges, and then soften it up a bit. Then you have the leaf that is freehand cut, you have the veins, and then you have the cuts and all the holes that you could just make. And I'm just going to make a few more of this to come back, as I will use them on the cake. So this one is done, and then the pretty last one is a simple grass that comes in handy, like a tiny piece that we could just use it. That is nothing but one of the basic shapes that we did, which is going to be the teardrop. So take a bit of the fondant, burst the ball, and then use only one side to make it pointy. And this maybe I'll just make it a bit more longer. And you could just stick them together. And then for the third one, I'm just going to use glue on both these grasses, and then stick the third one about in here. And I still have, because it is still kind of soft, I still have the leverage to kind of elongate it and then change the shape a bit. So that will be a handy one for the grass. So what we made right now is this grass, and there's this leaf. So two kinds of leaves and one grass. So this lesson is just about creating the different kinds of leaves on the grass, but it doesn't mean we're just focusing on the leaves and grass alone. So what I want to convey through this particular lesson is that every cake with just the bigger figurines are not going to look complete, and your cake should just convey a story for which the smaller elements are important to be added onto the cake. And if you're going to work on a theme, especially for this particular lesson and also in the future, the point that I am trying to insist is you don't have to be dependent on the cutters or silicone molds to create your own elements to go on onto the cake. And if you feel like there has to be an addition, that you could create certain unique things that is not up in the market, and then you could just use your own simple tools like your craft knife or the Dresden to come up with different smaller elements, and they look make your cake look really very unique because these are handcrafted. So I'll just make a few more of this and then catch you up in the next lesson, where we are going to use these leaves to finish making our 3D fondant cake.